It is a very wet morning in the mountains of southern Appalachia. Me and Matt really want to be outside today, putting some more things in the ground to grow for our family to eat in the coming year. Our tomatoes and peppers are definitely big enough to put in the ground. We still need to plant some okra and a few other things. I haven't planted any winter squash yet, but can't do nothing when it's pouring the rain. There's a small break right now. I can still hear the water dripping off the house. That's how short of a break it probably will be, or how close the break has been to when it was actually raining. Anyway, we're going to go out at least and look around in the garden, and I think Matt's, what do you got to do? Go up to his deer stand and do something.
Yeah, go up there and kind of brush it in a little.
Brush it in a little bit, he said. So we're going to go up there. We may get soaking wet. It may rain on us, but we're going to try to go get that done and then just look around and see how everything else is growing.
You can feel the cool as soon as you step in the woods.
You see all the pretty petals here. This is the ivy that's been blooming up above us, and you can see where the blooms are dropping from the rain. So Matt's gonna climb up there. This is a stand he uses mostly for bow hunting, is what he does up here. And even though to me it looks like it's pretty well kind of covered with the trees there, he's gonna tie some of those little pines closer to him just to help camouflage his outline while he's sitting up there. Of course, it's a long way till deer season, but he's thinking ahead. Looks pretty good to me. Of course, I don't know nothing about deer hunting, but thinks he's going to tie that ivy directly to the tree stand and then just kind of cut out how he goes up the stand, is what he was saying. I'm sure those pines being closer will help. You hear all those crows?
Yep.
And they're studying about how they're going to eat our corn. Well, did you get it done?
Well, I got done all I can do with that. It ain't exactly like I'd like it, but I think it'll work. Got a little bit of cover around where I'll be sitting, and maybe I won't get seen trying to draw my bow.
We've had so much rain, you can see little mushrooms popping up everywhere. We were walking out, Matt found one of his old arrows. He's trying to figure out when and where he lost it.
Yeah, I just don't recall shooting it up here, but that's one that I put together and built because I can remember that cresting on it that I did. I remember buying, I mean, that's back before they made wraps to go around them. I don't know if you ain't familiar with that. This was back when they were painted.
I remember you painting them way back
and I bought the little machine that spun them as you put your paintbrush on them.
Yeah.
That's how long that's been. That's been
20 years.
That's been longer than that.
25.
It's been close to 25 years ago.
Wow.
I just don't recall how that got here. I mean, must have been up here shooting at something.
Must have been.
I mean, that was back before there was any deer here. I was probably just up here shooting, playing like I used to do, just shooting or small game hunting or something, but way back yonder with a bow. That's pretty neat though. It is one that I made, and don't even remember losing it, but there it is. Cool. Be a good trail here, but it's grown up.
This time of the year, you can really see the new growth on all the pine trees, the green. It's really pretty. Look at these T90 little mushrooms, little bitty ones. You can really see where the heavy rain we've had in the last 2 weeks has pushed the leaves. It's formed its own little creek and coming down this old road bed and just pushed the leaves out of the way as it went. Since we've last been down here, this big tree has fell, probably during the wind that we had during the bad storms. Well, we made it back. It feels like it's about to fall a flood again. Look at that beautiful red strawberries. I think I need to actually eat it. Our potatoes that were blowed over during the storm that we had, they've all perked back up. And a lot of them are blooming. This garden's pretty waterlogged, but the cabbage looks great, don't it, Matt?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Beans are mostly up. A few places, like right here, they may need to be replanted. There's probably a 2.5 foot gap there. This was the, what are these, Matt? The butter beans?
Yeah.
So I may have to go get some of them and fill in that spot. This is a little bed where we planted the squash and zucchini I got from Satterfields. They look pretty good. They're leaves are a little bit yellow, but that may just be the shock of transplanting them. Hopefully they'll perk up and start doing better. That one does have some new growth on it though. The hostas are for sure enjoying all this rain. These peonies have been beautiful this year, so pretty. The water though, the rain's kind of getting them all tattered now, but they smell amazing. Every time I get out of my car, I smell their wonderful scent. The carrots are growing by leaps and bounds. They're doing good. Parsnips are doing good. The radishes, they grew good. You can see they're still growing there, but mostly those are all going to seed and they never did bulb up on the bottom. Hopefully those in the back that we planted to deter the squash bugs will, even if they don't help with the squash bugs, maybe they'll at least do better than these did. They grew pretty, they just didn't make nothing. I don't think I really need a popsicle today.
I do.
It's cold. It was amazing how much cooler it was in the woods as soon as you stepped in the woods. It was like stepping into air conditioning, wasn't it?
Maybe we should just leave the house and live in the woods.
We could. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yep.
I might miss my bathroom, but
Could live like groundhogs, just burrow up under the bank over there and just. Of course, it might be rough in the winter.
It'd be like on a Little House on the Prairie. In those days, they had, what was it, dugouts out. This is out in the prairie, not here, but dugout houses that they built. I guess that's like reminds me of all the like storm shelters here. You don't hear people talk about storm shelters as much, but when you was a boy, did you ever see them like they were in a bank and you'd see the little chimney thing coming up?
Yeah.
It seemed like they were pretty common then. I wonder if, as far as mine and Matt's lifetime, like for me, I wonder if I remember them because lots of people probably build them after the tornadoes that come in the 70s, the killer tornadoes, because they come through Murphy. Maybe a lot of people here decided, oh, I better do that because it was really bad. Tore up so much stuff.
Yep.
So the storm we had recently, it was bad, but it wasn't like that. Although that night my phone went off in the middle of the night to tell me we were under a tornado warning, not just a watch. And I did what I always do. I just woke up and said, Matt, it says it's a tornado warning. And then I went back to sleep and I let Matt worry about it. And he got up and went outside and I guess looked at the weather, and it was said that they thought there was a tornado. I don't know if it was like Doppler indicated or whatever. Where was it? Andrews and...
Yeah, and then a hail of them headed toward Franklin, and then there was another one. Blue Ridge or LJ or something, according to that, but I didn't actually hear of one actually touching down.
No. But yesterday we did have we were just going on a trip and had to go through the gorge, Nantahala Gorge, and come back. In several places we saw trees that had been blowed over, big trees, and Matt said maybe that was from that storm because you could tell they were freshly, hadn't been long since they'd been blowed over, and some of them was really big, weren't they?
Yeah, big trees.
Seems like for us, or maybe it's like that in other places, but storms like that seem to come in cycles. Like, remember, I don't know, Corey and Katie was pretty little, maybe a year old or something. It seemed like that spring was just storm after storm after storm that was like tornadoes touching down. And even if it wasn't a tornado, it was just like, what do they call it, straight line winds and blowing stuff over. And it seemed like it was just over and over and over storms like that.
Yeah, there was a time, I don't remember, I thought they were in school by then. And there was one spring where multiple different days, the storms just was like what they call freight training, just one after another, just sails. Mm-hmm. And they just kept coming over top of us, you remember?
Mm-hmm. No, they wasn't in school, but what you're thinking about is Ben was in school. And one of those, and Mark was too little to go to school. Uh-huh. So on one day, Steve and Kim didn't have a basement, so on one of those days, Kim and Mark, it was before April was born, come up here. But then somebody had to get Ben off the school bus, and that was you.
Okay.
You remember that?
Yeah,
it was like during a hailstorm. He was down there trying to get him, and I think you drove other kids in the holler to their house.
Yeah, I had a Blazer then, and then I remember the school bus driver pulled right up to my truck door and swung the doors open, and he was looking at me with his eyes this big, and I mean he was scared. And I just crawled over into the other seat, opened the door, and was grabbing youngins off the bus and throwing them in the back of that Blazer, and then I took them all home. And at that time, you could look back behind. He was facing that way, and it was behind me. It was bad. It was black, and it was hailing, and wind blowing everywhere, and hard sideways rain. It was terrible.
Somewhere, is that the same time we have pictures somewhere of hail piled up around the yard? Was that same day? Yeah.
Yeah, there was so much hail. It filled the gutters and the gutter pipes up, and then backed way up the roof. There's 6 or 8 feet of just hailstones laying on the roof until they melted, of course.
Yeah.
And then once the storm passed and all those white hailstones in the yard, and then I guess because they were so cold, and then the steam started rising off of them, it was kind of eerie looking.
Yeah, it was strange.
It's not really done anything like that here since then.
No, hadn't. I can hear Mr. Binks.
What do you want, Cap? You want popsicle?
I just want you to know he's here.
I'm about to get bit.
a lot of, when we shared the video about Pap's big garden, a lot of people though ask, like when it does, because we'd had those heavy rains, does that creek ever flood? It's never in my lifetime, nor did I ever hear Pap talk about it flooding like right here out into the garden area, anything. Now on down the road, there's a couple of places, there's been times it got over the road, but it's because there's a culvert and it has to go through that culvert and it backs up. So it does kind of down there, but still not to the point that, maybe one time to the point, now if you'd had a truck, you could just drive across it, but I remember one time when I had the Honda, when I'd been somewhere and I come home with Corey and Katie and I was afraid to drive across down there at Pickles, but they fixed that now. It's been fixed a long time, so it doesn't do it there anymore. But there's a place or two down here, but again, it's because it's trying to go through the culvert and it backs up. So as far as we know, and like I said, Pap never talked about it, it's never flooded right through there.
I've never seen it out.
So hopefully it would
Seen
never
it high,
do that.
but I've never seen it
Yeah,
out.
I've never seen it actually out. And as far as Corey and Austin's house, now that they're living in, it is close to the creek. But again, my brother and sister-in-law lived there. How long did they live there?
Over 30 years.
Yeah. Gosh, that's hard to believe. But I guess.
33 or 4 years,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, anyway, it never got out like near their house in that length of time either. So hopefully that's not something that we'd have to worry about. Of course, you never know with the weather. You never know what's going to happen.
Well,
Another thing folks ask, thinking about it being so close to the creek, a lot of people ask, would we water from the creek? It'd be nice to have some kind of irrigation system that pumped. That might be something Matt thinks about someday. But thankfully, where we live, we really don't ever have to water very much. It's rare to have a really drought summer.
there's been a time or two that we carried water in buckets from the creek and watered plants. But just once or twice
Not
since we've
much,
been here.
So thankfully we get enough rain. This is like a temperate rainforest. It's been so long that we didn't, and weather patterns change though. We were in a really, really wet pattern for 5 or 6 years. Last year and the year before didn't seem to be as bad.
Right.
But years ago, I remember, and weather's funny how it'll be rain at your house but not down the road. It was one of those summers, I guess, and we were so dry here. And I remember I went like on a camping trip with the church to over in Robbinsville, Rattler Ford, and it rained, and then it was all the way back home. It had, you could see puddles and the creeks, and I was like, good, I'm so glad that it rained at our house because of the garden and everything. No, it didn't rain here.
Yeah.
It was like it just stopped about in Peachtree, and then the closer I got to home, the drier it was.
Right.
Anyway, sometimes that happens. But generally, thankfully, we don't have to worry about watering stuff much. We do water, like when we plant our tomato plants and our pepper plants, we'll water them like for the first, week or something.
Right.
And but then we won't water them anymore unless, like Matt said, it just got desperately dry. And if it did, then we would hand water.
Right.
We'd just hand water. Often during the summer, we have really hot days with bright sunshine, and then every evening, like a thunderstorm.
Right.
And if it's not every day, it's at least 2 or 3 times a week. So those thunderstorms that pop up really bring a lot of moisture.
Right. We're about in a pattern like that now here shortly. When it gets hot enough and humid enough, it's just almost every day.
Mm-hmm. It would be neat though to have the irrigation down there for the garden.
Yeah, we could rig something up.
Yeah, I mean, if
Put a
in
rain
case
pump
you
in the
needed
creek.
it or whatever.
Now that they're down there, you can probably put a well pump in the creek and just power it off of Corey and Austin's house and
Yeah.
switch it and just use it however we
Use
need
it
to.
that way.
Yeah, I could do that pretty easy.
Everything's looking good though. Just if we can get the rest of it planted.
Yeah.
But there ain't nothing we can do about the rain.
Yeah.
Our tomatoes and peppers, they're okay in the greenhouse. Our peppers have actually, some of them got little peppers on them. Now those are not ones we started. All the ones I started were just total flop this year. But the ones we bought at different places, they've got, some of them's got little peppers on them. And then what else do we, one of the main things is okra, but I'm not as worried about it because it loves that hot. It'll really thrive in July and end of June, July and August even, and it usually, our okra will produce right up until frost. So we still got plenty of time for it. Our raised beds on the bank, we really need to plant stuff in them, but we wanted to add more dirt to them, and that's not just, we'd be adding mud right now. And then too, just who wants to work in the downpours, so we hadn't got that done in between everything else.
I think what our problem is we've got way more to do than we've got time to get done.
I don't think so. Just imagine everything we'd got done if Granny hadn't spent 19 days in the hospital.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we've got more, we ain't had time. But we'll get it, and what we don't get, away next year.
That's true. That's how me and Matt look at it.
Ain't no need in getting overexcited about it.
We aim really high, and then we do what we can do, and we're satisfied.
Aim real high, and then when you fall short, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Or good enough to suit us, and that's all that counts.
Yeah. Are you happy you got your stand situated a little bit?
Well, I got it a little situated. I just wanted to, I like to spread it out, in other words, over the summer. It kind of gets the excitement level up, and it gives you a little bit of something to do that has to do with it all year long. So yeah. It was, still got a little bit to do up there. I need to cut me a decent walking trail in there to it where I can get in there and not be heard or seen. And it's real close to the house here. It ain't like I'm going very far, but I don't have to.
Yeah, while you're getting up there getting ready to harvest meat, I mean, we're down here getting ready to harvest the corn and the green beans and all that. It's pretty neat when you think about it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help fill up the other side of the plate.
Yeah.
Up there on the hill, the meat part of it.
When you was a boy and you and Papa hunted in Georgia all the time, did y'all go down and do stuff during the summer like that to prepare?
Not near as much as, I mean, just occasionally. It finally, once it gets any little bit past spring, it was so hot down there that once in a while we would, but we didn't go very often, because he had to work and I had school, and then it was just blistering hot.
Yeah.
So
much easier just to go out your back door.
yeah, when you're close to home like this, you can fiddle with it about 12 months a year, and that makes it fun.
Fun for
And
you.
it's cool that you can feed yourself this close from the land, right off, right above your house or behind your house, and then it's right next to where all the garden food is, and we probably need to keep them from eating the garden food.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good system, isn't it?
It's good. Matt enjoys it, and then we enjoy the food.
Yes, yeah.
The other day, Matt made some. It was cubed meat. Some of the meat that him and Papa that they get, they have a cuber and they put it through the cuber. So those, and we really love the cubed meat fried. And usually that's how we would always eat it. It's just sometimes didn't we bake it some years ago? We'd do that.
Years and years
Like
ago,
with-
we'd make a
Like a gravy type.
yeah.
But
I hadn't done that in a long time.
But mostly we would just fry it. Just Matt dredges it in flour and salt and pepper and whatever and fries it, and it's really, really good that way. But the last year or so, Matt's been you can describe what you're doing with it instead.
Yeah, just to do something different, I just started, after I thawed it out, would just season it, like put a rub on it, real good heavy coat of seasoning on both sides, and then just cook it in butter.
It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, cook it like on a black stone, or you could do it in a cast iron pan. I've done it both ways. But it's actually, I don't know if it's better, it's just a different taste, and it's equally as good as the way we've always ate it, if it's not better.
It's really good.
So, it's just a different way to do it. And I've actually done a tenderloin or two that way. I generally don't do those that way, but the last couple I've done turned out pretty good, and everybody seemed to like it.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah. The
It's the best meat on the planet as far as I'm concerned.
that you made the other day, we just scoffed it up and it's gone before you knew it.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, the problem is the tenderloins ain't near big enough in a deer. They need to be big as a hubcap at least.
Yeah, that'd be better.
But they just ain't.
Yeah. Of course, we like it all. We like the other parts of the deer too, but the tenderloins is the best, the prime cut, I guess you'd say.
I'd rather have that as anything I've ever put in my mouth.
It's good. Hope Matt will be able to go fishing some.
It ain't looking like it.
We have some fresh fish. We do have the fish that Tom Orr shared with us, sent me home with from the Satterfields. If you missed the video where I talked to him a little bit, that's a really great one. He was a really sweet man. It's the first time I'd ever met him, and really one of the, what does the young people today say, OG?
One of the OGs.
One of the OGs, yeah.
Yeah.
But really interesting and really knowledgeable. And I still hadn't got over the bear grease that he rendered. It was clear as water. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about those fish he sent too. I'm ready to get into them and eat them.
Yeah. And because we hadn't eat them yet, we don't know. But Betty told me, said, you won't have to worry about he gets every bone, he just cleans his fish perfectly, yeah. I fillet our fish, but I don't always get all the bones. I'm not good about that, but she said he was just the expert at it, and she said you'll really enjoy those.
And you need to send everybody to town and we'll cook them.
Yeah, we can have them for ourselves.
Yeah. Send them on a trip, and then when you cook them and eat them.
It's one of my favorite meals is a fish fry with got to have the hush puppies and the slaw and the French fries. That's what we like with it, and then the fish. It's one of my favorite meals.
It is hard to beat.
When I was growing up, when Pap and Granny, Pap liked to fish, and him and Steve and Paul would go fishing a lot. When we'd have fish like that, it was like almost like a celebration because we all loved it so much. It was just so good. It was always a real happy supper if we were having like a fish fry with the fish and the French fries and the slaw and the hush puppies.
Pat make a hush puppies?
Sometimes he would, but mostly Granny made them, and they were good. But they're not as good as Papa Tony makes the best hush puppies.
I've tried to make his like
I have ever eaten in my life.
And I ain't never got close to him.
I like hush puppies pretty much. If you go to a restaurant or something, I don't even, I doubt a lot of restaurants probably buy them pre-packaged. They're all right, but
I think I know what he does.
But his are so good.
I think there's so much sugar in them it'll kill you.
No.
I think that's what it is.
I mean, he does put sugar in them, and they're sweet, but they're not overly sweet. The onions balance it all out. They're just the best.
They are good.
They're the best. I have a post where one time we were out there, and he was fixing us a big fish fry that I wrote down everything, so I'll link to that if you want to look on the Blind Pig and Acorn. But I think it's one of those things, like Matt said, we've tried it. You just have to have the touch of it.
He's good cook.
Reminds me of one of my cousins one time was talking, and we were talking about how older women in our family could really cook, and in her family. And but she said her mother-in-law, she said, I swear she could just boil water and it would taste good. I don't know what she does. I try to do exactly what she does, and it just don't taste like it. Sometimes I've heard people say, well, it's because they put love in it. So maybe Papa's putting a heaping dose of love in his hush puppies.
Yeah, it's kind of like my green beans, trying to make them as good as your mama's, and I just ain't never been able to do it.
Grannies are good.
Golly, they're good.
Yeah, they are.
But I know when I've been beat. I can admit it, and it don't bother me.
Well, it's nice too that people in your family become sort of famous for those things. Like Granny always has to bring her green beans if we're having something, and Papa's hush puppies are one of his stars for sure. You
could be stranded in the desert and come upon a pot of beans and eat them and know if it's hers or not.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a fact.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know what she don't do anything special. It's just that they're better somehow.
Yeah, they are mighty good.
Now I'm starving. We've talked about all this. I really wish I had some fish and hush puppies and slaw and French fries.
Yeah, I'd like to have something I ain't eating over lunch.
Yeah, Matt's coming fed.
Way past lunch.
Way past lunch. I'm gonna have to go in and get you some dinner.
Yeah, gotta have something. I'm hungry.
And the sun's back out but I heard some thunder, so it probably ain't gonna be out long.
Yeah.
I was going to say, now that we give up on our walk around the yard, the sun come back out, but then I heard the thunder, so I guess we'll be done for a day or two till it dries out, till we get back outside.
Yep.
and we can get the yard mowed and get the peppers and tomatoes planted and fix those beds on the bank, and maybe we'll be ready to lay by. It'll be time to hoe the corn and all that.
Yeah, I need to go down and look, see if any of it's come up. I doubt it.
I doubt it too, but it might have.
Basically, we want to see if there's any tracks in it and if there's been any crows in it.
Yeah, those crows we heard when we was up on the ridge, they were probably like, yay!
Yeah, hey, look, they planted this field.
Yeah, they
look
planted
over
this
here.
just for us.
Yeah,
They probably did.
probably.
We have to get us a scarecrow or something down there, and those, if we do the, like Justin Metcalf put out the film, the VHS tape.
Where are you going to get the tape?
I think I've got some in there. I have to go through them and see if there's any we don't want. You can go to a thrift store and buy them. You can buy them for 50 cents usually. You can do that too.
Yeah.
I bet we got something in there though that we no longer won't ever watch. Probably, but we could go to a thrift store. You can buy stuff like that too. Remember that red stuff I put around the blueberries? So you can buy stuff too. It's supposed to, it's like shimmers in the wind, scare off stuff. And after the corn gets to a certain height, then you don't have to worry about the crows anymore. You still got to worry about if there were to be deer in it, but you don't have to worry about the crows anymore. Well, I guess I better go in and feed you, hadn't I? Or maybe you go in, we'll go in, you'll feed me.
Okay.
I know, I'm going to eat watermelon, so mine's easy. I've got a really good watermelon in the refrigerator that Sam and Wanda brought me half of one they got, and it's really a good one. We can make you a sandwich before long. You'll be able to go in for a mater sandwich.
It won't be too awful long. Well, we got to get them planted first.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while unless we get them in the ground.
Our tomatoes are like about that tall. They need desperately to be in the ground, but can't do anything with the rain.
No.
Well, we hope you enjoyed spending time with us, taking a little walk in the woods, and it's the Ups man down at Corey's house. He's already been up here. Brought Matt some new implements to work in the garden. I guess they're really for me, though.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I figured you'd say.
Yeah.
We're always grateful when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia.